This is our high percent trading support webinar for Thursday. We're going to go over some different topics that some of you wanted to see. I'm going to first talk about ways to enter Algo Band setups that are a little more conservative from the standpoint of maybe not getting in too early on a trade. Dennis, I think that was primarily one of the questions that you had. So we'll look at a couple different methods there. And then we're going to proceed to go over the differences on these templates. I'm not going to go deep into detail because we're not going to have the time to do that, but I'm going to point you to some videos that we have on the website that you can also come in on and see quite a lot of the differences. But we're going to cover the templates that are momentum based, the templates that are retrace based, so that you get a good overview of that. Okay, so the first thing I'm looking at here is the Russell contract. Okay, and this is pretty much the pit open right here. One of the questions was, of course, the conservative entry generally is going to be a close below the Algo Band with the trend. Now, as the trend is down, so the conservative entry is here. Now, that's all well and good if the market takes off and runs, but sometimes, and a lot of times, you're going to have to get a stop hit and then re-enter. And so one of the questions that was raised is, as far as entries are concerned, when you have an Algo Band, and let's say we're in a downtrend, and we come up through the band, what's a good timing technique to trigger that trade, and also so that we don't take too many trades, all right? And then secondarily, there's the other issue, and that is once we're below, this is the continued Algo Band here, once we're below it, can we get another setup? So one of the two ways that you can look at, and I had mentioned this before, is if you put the S2 indicator up here. All right, this is the S2 indicator. Now, I really haven't showed this, I don't think, on how to time your trades in conjunction with the Algo Bands and the trend. So we're going to do that. And or the right edge box. Okay, so what are we looking at? We had an Algo Band here right off the pit open. We're in a downtrend. So what we're looking for is a setup when the S2 indicator gets above the threshold. In this case, this threshold is 80. Okay, threshold is 80. It's nice if we also have a right edge box that qualifies as well. And just to refresh your memory, the right edge boxes for a short, generally, the conservative method is when the high in a downtrend, when the high of the red box is at or above the midband, and we're retracing up. So in this case, you had both of them at work. You had the S2 at work, and you had the right edge box at work. Now, the S2 that I'm running is the S2 that we've been running on all the templates when we showed them, and that was using the 6-range chart, okay, the 6-range data series. So this is your standard S2, but in this case, I'm using the range size of 6, so it's looking and finding that range. So here's our Algo Band. We traded up through it. Our trend is down. We have our setup here. We're above our threshold, and we're also into a right edge box. The trade is reversal bar down, confirmed reversal bar down. That's the short. Okay. What we're looking to try to do through these entries is to, again, perhaps cut down the number of trades to try to increase the really good percentage. And of course, the trade-off is you can miss some trades, and so we'll kind of cover that. But as I indicated before, and I think Dennis, the reason you've asked that is I think you're pretty much in the same camp that you'd much rather have fewer trades with a greater probability of success than more trades with less of a probability or getting in too early. So that was your first trade setup. We ratcheted down. The Algo Band was still in effect here. We retraced up, okay? We were very close into the 15-minute rule. Notice we didn't have a right edge box qualify because this high was not at or above, okay? But once we got to our threshold, which was above 80, and that's right here, we're looking for a confirmed reversal bar, and that confirmed reversal bar is here, okay? Confirmed reversal bar here, came down, went basically coast to coast, and this also was a phantom trade as well, so using that. Now, again, keep in mind, the thing that you need to do for our next qualifying trade, because we did not ratchet down, and this was our level, we need to equal or exceed this level for a trade, okay? So even though we came up to here again, at least this is the way I like to do it, even though we came up to here again, and we were in a downtrend, and we were below the Algo Band, which is still in effect right here, and we also had the S2 indicators up here, we did not equal or exceed this high. So even though this worked out well, this is not an entry setup any way you look at it, okay, following the rules. It's not an entry setup because it's not a right edge box setup because we have to be at or above here trade-wise, and same thing on S2, we're not above here. This, however, was, as we came up, all right, we came into the phantom, we had an S2 setup, we had a right edge setup, we had a reversal bar, but that did not work, all right? Now, could somebody tell me, and I know you've studied this enough, what's the potential problem with this trade? Is this first time to the phantom, or is this second? Well, the way I view it, this was your phantom trade here. This is second time. It's splitting hairs, but the bottom line is, even if you viewed this as first time, your stop is here and you're out with a relatively small loss, okay? You're out with a relatively small loss. So you could look at it either way. I'm not going to split hairs on that. Some of you won't take this trade because you'll view this as first time. Others will say, no, it's okay because we didn't really touch the band yet. Doesn't matter, just as long as you're consistent, okay? But what I want to point out is, again, remember, trading's not a marathon. How many good trades do you want to have? This was trade number 1 that went on to make a really large profit. This was trade number 2 that went on to make a nice profit as well. So you've had 2 trades out of the gate basically in the first 20 minutes, all right? But continuing the analysis, we then got a trend change. We got an Algo Band, all right? If we're following the S2 setup right here, okay? That was our S2 setup. We came down to the mid band. The right edge box also qualified because the low of this box was at or below the mid band, and price came to the mid band. All right, so that's our trade, long. Okay. In order to take another trade, because we still have the Algo Band in effect, and let me kill this. Let me kill the profit boxes here so it's a little bit easier to see. In order to take another trade, again, we need to come down to this level. When we came down to this level, we were getting there on S2. We weren't quite there. We got to it here. All right. This again was another right edge box. We came down, got the reversal bar. That was your trigger. And then up we went. Okay. Up we went to new highs on the session. if you're managing this trade correctly, you still should have a runner from down here. Okay. Now, from an Algo Band standpoint, this is still the Algo Band that's in effect right here. You can see it all the way out to here. All right. Price did not come down to the mid band here to qualify for a right edge. All right. The box qualified, but price didn't. However, the S2 qualified because we did get to the threshold. So this is an S2 setup here and or here. This one did qualify. All right. So again, if you're using right edge boxes, S2, the Algo Band, that was your trade setup, that qualified, and off it went. Okay. Then we had the extreme Algo Band up here, looking for a long trade setup. I think, Dennis, you commented on this one. This was the right edge box here. This qualified for a right edge trade. So what you're looking at is Algo Band, trend, right edge qualifying. S2 didn't, but the right edge did. Okay, coming up again. Okay, none of these have qualified any way you cut it. All right, trend is up. None of these have qualified until right here. Okay, right here. And so you do have Algo Band, and this is a brand new Algo Band, by the way. So as you came down here, the S2 qualified. The right edge box is right here, so it just missed it, but the S2 qualified. That was the trigger. You came down one more time. The S2 still qualifies. You just got the trend change right here. You wouldn't have known that until we popped up, so that was your last qualifying trade. Okay. Trend change to the downside. This is still the Algo Band in effect. Trend is down. We're not qualifying on anything right here. We're not qualifying on the right edge boxes. We're not qualifying on the S2. We don't qualify on that until right here. Okay, right here. So this is the first one that I wanted to show that did not work. Okay, because it's important in your analysis on how to handle that if you're still trading. Now, I would point out that this is basically 2.5 hours into trading. You should be long done. But if you're still trading for some reason and you're still following the rules, the Algo Band is here. We've gone up through it. We do have a right edge box that's qualifying here. We do have an S2 that's qualifying. If on a confirmed reversal bar you're short and your stop is here. And then if you want to continue to pursue the shorts, and I showed this before, you can trail the low, trail the low, trail the low until you get your phantom trade set up, right? Because that's, it's trail the lows and wait until you break below the low or you get a phantom trade set up, and then you're clear to take the trade again. This was the phantom trade. There was the trigger off the trend change and down it went. All right. And now we're back to our Algo Band here. We have our setup here. We have an S2. We have a right edge. That was your trigger. You got stopped out. Again, just as I said, you would wait for this high to be taken out, or you get your phantom trade, whichever occurred first. That's your phantom trade. That's your entry. All right. And then again, we can continue with the analysis. The Algo Band is now here. Here's our S2 setup here. This is also a right edge setup. All right. If this was a confirming trigger, your stop is here. It's taken out. You're going to trail, phantom trade. So trail, phantom trade. And now this is our Algo Band here. We did have an S2 setup right here. Okay, we didn't get to the mid band. We didn't have a right edge, but we did get an S2 setup here with the trigger. All right. So that's a conservative way to trade the algo bands with the trend, you could say, okay, I'm going to have both the S2 and the right edge qualify together, or I'll take either or. My personal preference would be to take either or. A lot of times they're going to dovetail together, but in this case, for example, you didn't have the right edge qualify because this right edge box was not at or below the midband, okay? But the S2 did right here. All right, so now I'm going to stop. I'm going to see what questions there may be. But again, the reason I'm showing this is some of you wanted to see a more conservative way. I guess it's a hybrid. It's a conservative, aggressive way. It's aggressive from the standpoint that if you're going through the algo band, you're still looking for a short trade if the trend is down, and if it's going through the algo band on a long, you're looking for a long trade if the trend is up. But you're looking for a more palatable trigger that perhaps increases the odds in your favor uh, so that you're not going to get a quick stop out. Okay? So I'm going to stop, see what questions there are, because I don't know if everybody has grasped this concept. The good news is I am recording this, okay? And I will make the recording available later today. So question on S2, does it have to be above 80 or does it need to cross back down to trigger? Okay. Casey, the way I'm showing this is on a short, you just need to be 80 or above, okay? Not a turn down, not a crossover, okay? Now, some traders wait for the turn down or they wait for the crossover. That's just the way they trade. You're going to get even less trades that way. But the upside to that is you're going to get fewer trades that will result in a stop out. So it's really up to you, but the way I'm showing this and really the way it's designed is just once you get to the threshold, either one. The red one is the quicker one, the green one is the slower one. But the way I'm showing this and personally the way I would approach this if you're using this concept, and we haven't really talked about this concept before. Some of you may have seen it in conjunction because I know once you start using these indicators, different concepts evolve and you see the interrelationship, the symbiotic relationship between them. Some of you may have been incorporating this without me pointing it out. Okay? Does that answer your question, Casey? Okay. Any more on this? Any more on this concept? And some of you don't even trade the algo bands, and I realize that. So everybody has their own methods of trading. But this is a pretty good conservative way to trade. It keeps you out of trouble. And even when you get this, what I call a run coast to coast up here, this is the bane for any type of retrace traders when you just get a move that goes from one end to another and you continue to get these retraces, right? And so instead of getting stopped out here and stopped out here and then eventually in here on the nice trade, the first trade would have got stopped out, but by trailing the lows, waiting for a break, if that occurs, and if it doesn't occur, then the phantom setup, that's a good way to combine it. Okay. All right, now let's talk about the various templates in the octopus, about what these templates are. I think, Ron, you asked that question, right? What, which one are the momentum-based templates? Which one are the retrace-based templates and things like that? And keep in mind, there's a lot of templates in here. Some of them are bread and butter. 1 minute, please. Okay, some of them are bread and butter templates. Some of them are templates that were put in there so that you could add on and see the concepts. Before I do that though, what I want to point out again, some of you may not be aware of this, is if you go to the website, go to high%trading.com, right? Go to the website, high%trading.com, and I'll show it. If you click on right here, High% Trading YouTube channel, click on that. There are 5 videos here, all right? These are octopus template videos that go through the parameters and the settings and things like that. The website may be using a different octopus run, but the parameters are the same. Okay, so I do realize that. These videos were using the predecessor to what we have now, right? The predecessor. But as far as using the rules, using the plots, using all of that, that hasn't changed. All right, so for example, if you go in here and see, I want to see the High% Trading retrace trades templates. As it goes through each type and it goes through each parameter, those have not changed. The rules and plots and the way to do that has not changed. Okay, in time, I'll do some more videos to bring it up. Okay, and you've indicated you've watched them several times and they do help, but you know, I'm sure they don't explain everything, right? Okay. So that keeping that in mind, what I do recommend though is if you haven't reviewed these, to please go in and review them, all right? Because it's going to talk about the various differences. I mean, you know, the first one talks about retrace trades. The next one talks about the first series trades. This one talks about the profit 2 trades. This one talks about the S2 setups, and this is Algo Bands and quarterback. So there's quite a bit that's covered in here. It doesn't have every single one because we've added others, but it'll get you about 80% of what is there. All right. So with that in mind, and again, I don't expect everybody to use all of these. You know, I basically look at 3 or 4 and that's it. But if you come in here and go load from file, you'll get all of the templates. Now I might have 1 or 2 in here that you don't have because I've renamed them, all right? But let me just talk about these. The this one, Algal Bands Profit 2, that's a momentum-based Algo Band. The Algo Bands Profit 3 is a momentum-based Algo Band. That's momentum-based, okay? Algo Bands Trend, obviously, is momentum-based as well. And the Algo Bands Accelerator is momentum-based. The double profit 2 is momentum based. The double profit 2A is momentum based. The accelerator deep retrace is a combo. It's a combo based on momentum, but it's also taking a deep retrace down to the phantom. All right, so it's a combo. And the accelerator trend phantom is the accelerator momentum only with the trend, and then phantom retrace as well. All right. This was an accelerator, which is a momentum-based, which is the first A, and the first A is basically a momentum-based approach with a small retrace, okay? I don't know if we've got one here called momentum or not. I don't think so. I think I renamed it, but if we do, obviously it's a momentum. The brakes S2, that's a retrace trade. The accelerator trend, that's a momentum trace. The accelerator, of course, is a momentum trace. This is the one that you know, we've followed for a long time. Traders still trade it. I'll probably start showing it again next week again. I hate to get away from things, but I like to put them up just to remind everybody again. Breaks, of course, is a pure retrace. The Alt WS2s are retrace. All right. The Phantom Profit is a retrace. Any of the Phantoms are retrace. This is a major counter trend. That's what the CT stands for. These are retraces, all of these, and these are all retraces. I mean, I'm not, anything with the profit in it for the most part is accelerator based. Algo Bands, that was the original Algo Bands. This is using different logic. It can go both ways. That's the quarterback. The quarterback is basically a retrace approach, Phantom. Now right edge S2, that's retrace. Right edge is also retrace. Deep retrace by its name is a retrace. The standard was the very first one, the default that came out. That's a momentum based. And the first and first day, like I said, is momentum based, but a small retrace. So Ron's question is, that's what I'd like to know, the 3 or 4 that work well, okay? The 3 or 4 that work the best, the bread and butter, okay? Bread and butter. I'll take 5, the bread and butter. Number 1 is deep retrace, all right? That's retrace. Number 2 would be for retrace, right edge, okay? Number 3 would be the accelerator. Number 4 would be the brakes. And number 5 would be the Algo Bands trend, all right? Those are the top 5 that I would look at. Those 5 are very robust. They're very, very good as far as the entries are concerned and the profit potentials. The rest of these are kind of, for the most part, added on so that you can see different types of approaches. It's really for more advanced type traders who are comfortable and familiar with these bread and butter ones. But those are the 5 that I would concentrate on. Did I omit anything from bread and butter, anybody? Anything else come to mind that I may have omitted when I covered it? Yeah, Stephen says also the standard with Octopus S2 is good. Not turning off Octopus 1 and using Octopus 2, right? Yeah, standard. Remember, standard was the very first one we came out with. But so again, that's the bread and butter. Those are the bread and butters. Again, I'll reiterate it again. For retrace trades, you have deep retrace. That gets every trade mid-band and higher, including all the way up to the Phantom. Okay. Second retrace trade is the right edge. Okay. And then as I indicated, the third is the accelerator. That's a bread and butter, stands up day in and day out if it's traded the right way through the pit sessions. And the European Opens. All right, accelerator, brakes, Algo Bands trend, and then as Stephen has mentioned, you can use the standard, but only Octopus 2. Okay, so there's 6. There's 6. Those are the 6 big ones, the big 6. Now I hope that helps because as I said, you're going to pick 1 or 2 of these and that's what you're going to use. All right. Some people like retrace trades. Some traders like momentum-based trades. Some like to combine it. So it's a matter of what you're comfortable with, because one size doesn't fit all when it comes to this, okay? I want to point out, I don't think we saw this, did we, while we were talking, but this was our algo band here on our analysis. We came down, right? This was your S2 setup right here. That was your trigger bar, and off it went and made a new high. All right. So this is picking most of the trades and using that technique that I showed of once you have a trade and it gets stopped out, use the breakout or the phantom. That keeps you moving the right way. Okay. Now I want to stop and see if there's any more questions on this or any other topic. Again, and what I would recommend, and I'm not trying to hawk this, a lot of you take advantage of this. I do have the one-on-one coaching sessions, and what I have found is once you've been in this for, even a few days or a week, or you could be several weeks or several months even, you're going to have questions about the type of techniques and the type of templates and the types of entries and exits that might be best for you. So I recommend, if you're in that category, I recommend just contacting me and I'll set up the coaching session with you. Okay? They're really super reasonable. I mean, they're $100 for an hour, and I record them and you have them. Okay? And I have found that for most traders, probably 90% of them, when I do that, their trading gets 100 times better, because there's a lot of templates here. And just like you asked, Ron, I mean, what's what? Those are the big 6 that I would concentrate on. And then, of course, we don't have it automated, but, we do have the band indicator trading those sessions that we cover from time to time. Maybe the goal might be to automate that as well. We'll look into that in the next couple of months. And that's exactly right, Ron, and let me point that out. Ron said yes, he understands, he wants to do that, but he wants to spend some time first to come up with good questions before the one-on-one, and that's absolutely the right way to do it. Absolutely the best way, because that way you get to work with it, you get to formulate the questions, and I find the best sessions are when traders do that and they can actually write them down and go through them one by one. That's the best way. All right. Absolutely. Now, that's what I wanted to show. Obviously, we didn't take the full hour today, but that's okay. This is going to be recorded. I will have it back up on the YouTube later today. And I want to see if there's anything else that anybody wants to cover before we end up here today. That's true, Stephen, and let me talk about that, and I can start to work with that again next week or the following week. But what Stephen says is that the trader should also learn how to use the stats indicator to do analysis, okay, because that's really powerful. So some of you may not even be aware of it. It's nothing that we can cover here in 15 minutes, but that's a very powerful indicator that will analyze most of the octopus setups. Ron said the tip here on using S2 is very helpful. Well, you'll know, Ron, that if you run the breaks template, it's using the S2 as part of its analysis. So you'll see that. And as a matter of fact, you could probably put the breaks up running that template with the algo bands, and you'll see the entries. Yeah, Stephen uses the crossover. What he waits for example, would be this. Okay, you're going to get in later, but generally it's a good confirmed move. Now, what do we have for a setup again? Right, we made a new high. We have our algo band here where we're tracing back. This right edge box doesn't qualify because the low's not at or below the midband. The S2 has not qualified yet either. All right, so you need to watch the S2 drop to this level or lower for the and the setup, and then you're going to wait on the trigger. Okay. Casey, what did you ask? What are the top 5 rules that I follow? All right, the top 5 rules. Number 1, when we have a pit open, if it's a European session, I like to use a momentum-based system for the first 2 hours. If it's crude oil, I like to use a momentum-based system for the first hour. If it's the equities, I like to use a momentum-based system for the first half hour after the pit open, unless we have a major report at 7 a.m. and we're having less and less of those because they've now moved them to 5:30. But when we do, then I extend that 15 more minutes. By the way, you're getting your thresholds here now. Okay, S2 has come down. You're below your Algo Band. That was the counter trend short, by the way. Counter trend short off the Algo Band at the extreme. You'd be looking to take profits now if you're not out already on a reversal bar, and this fits the rules of the S2 setup on a reversal bar. Okay, so that was the first rule. And then also the same thing applies when it comes to major reports. Okay, major report, we have, for example, non-farm payroll. You can run that the first hour, hour and a half, the momentum-based system. Any other major report, I go a half an hour, just like we saw in crude oil yesterday. Any other major report. FOMC, same thing, first half hour after the announcement. Okay, that's rule number 1. Rule number 2, when it comes to retrace trades, we have found you're much better off using the 15-minute rule. The 15-minute rule means you're not taking any form of a retrace trade other than a phantom trade. And if you want to trade the right edge, you can as well, but just pure deep retrace trades, any retrace trades within 15 minutes of any of those pit opens. Okay, that's the 15-minute rule. I don't like to counter trend, but there are times and places to counter trend. All right, what are those? Well, you just saw one up here. This is a good counter trend because that is the extreme. Okay. Also, when it comes to the big band indicator, counter trending at bands 2, 4, 6, and 8 above, bands 2, 4, 6, 8 below. Those are good counter trends. By the way, there's your trigger. Okay, so that would be your out and along. Now, when this happens, you never know what's going to happen. This market could come up, test the plateau, make new highs, or we could tank to the downside. You just don't know what's going to happen, so all you can do is manage the trades, you know. And that's why a lot of traders have difficulty. They can't deal with that uncertainty of a trade, but you have to be able to deal with it and accept it for what it is. Okay, I think I covered most of the rules. I know that's not 5. What else am I missing? Anybody? Anything come to mind? Rule-wise? Oh, first time into the phantom versus second time into the phantom. All right, that's very important. Again, the percentages, percentage-wise, when you have second time into the phantom, that means we've gone back into the phantom without ratcheting. That probability on that trade is much lower than first time. And so the rule is either ignore it and don't trade it, or cut down to a minimal contract entry. Okay. Same thing when it comes to a linear move up. All right. When you see a linear move up from one end to the other, pretty much straight up, and you have a phantom trade set up, then that's something that either you should pass on or cut down to a minimum entry. All right. I think that covers them. Notice you got your trigger. You should already have gotten a scalp if you're trying to manage a runner now. Only time's going to tell if this is going to hold and we move higher or if it gets taken out. All right, so I think I covered that then. I don't know if there's anything else. Anything else that anybody can think of? Bottom line is, if you apply these methods and are religious in your rules day in and day out, you notice there's no subjectivity here when we're in here, right? There's no could have, should have, or would have. That's the beauty of these indicators is you see the setups once you understand what they are. There's no fudging on it. It's either there or it's not. And if it's not there, there's not a trade because it's patience, discipline, and timing that you're looking at. And this gives you all of that. You'll also find, I think, too, that the more veteran traders, the more seasoned traders, the traders that are profitable pretty much every day, they've learned that patience, discipline, and timing. They've learned that because that's what it takes. You just have to have the patience to wait for the setups, the discipline to act, and then the timing to pull the trigger. And that's it. All right. Well, that'll do it. If there's nothing else, let me go ahead and finish this up. We'll get it posted up. And have a nice weekend. And we'll see everybody again on Tuesday. All right. Enjoy the weekend. Thank you, Casey. Thank you, everybody. And we'll get this up in about maybe an hour or so. 2 hours. It should be up there for you to view. Oh, also, keep in mind, today I'm going to be sending out new HP bars. Okay. Just make sure you're going to have the new one in there. These will be HPT Bars N and HPT Bars C3N. Okay. Make sure that you have those in by, I would say by Sunday, Monday at the latest. You're going to remove the old one. Just remove the old HP bar assembly that you're working with, and you're going to bring the new one in. That's all you need to do. And of course, you'll need to, I don't think you'll even have to restart NinjaTrader for that. What's the difference, Hermine? There is no difference as far as the bars. Yours are just going to stop working. They're not going to work anymore. So that's why you need to bring the new ones in. Yep, that's all. Okay. All right. All right. Well, I think this is a good session. You see that one trade still working over here on Russell. Okay, everybody, take care now. Have a nice weekend. Talk to everybody soon. Bye now. Bye-bye.